Spring is a season of movement, and as the heavier qualities of winter are starting to lift, our skin is often going to reflect this shift in things like puffiness or congestion, maybe dullness from months of slower circulation at the skin's surface. And across traditional systems like Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, spring is thought of as a time when stagnation is starting to melt, that snow is starting to melt, and our body begins to naturally clear and renew, just like we see outside our window. So today I want to talk about 3 things that I love for supporting skin during the springtime. You are listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern vitality. If you are seeking to reconnect with your innate vibrancy, you're in the right place. I'm Emily Davis, a seasoned holistic esthetician and herbalist. Join me as we unlock the secrets of ancient skincare practices, explore the beauty of seasonal and nature-based living, herbalism, and true holistic well-being for you and the broader ecosystem. This podcast is brought to you by Stratum Aesthetics. Head to stratumaesthetics.com to find curated skincare, body care, and other wellness products hand-selected by me. Now enjoy the show. Please remember that the information I share in this podcast is based on my personal and professional experience and is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It is not individualized skincare advice, nor is it medical advice. I encourage you to take charge of your own health decisions and listen to your body, seeking out the resources and professionals that best support your wellness journey. Welcome back in. I'm so excited for spring this year. It's been a weird, dry, hot winter in Colorado, and I'm hoping spring is going to change up this energy a little bit. We're finally starting to have an actual spring where it's raining. We did have a very warm spring early in the season. I've already been in my garden a ton this year, and that makes me very happy. Spring's just a unique time of year because we're emerging from the winter, and traditionally, this is a time when we're transitioning from eating heavier foods like squash and potatoes and slow-cooked meats, and now we're starting to enjoy some spring greens with those things. And this really is the way we should continue to live. Seasonal eating is truly like the hack for looking hot and glowy for as long as possible. But it's not always the case in modern life. And by the way, if you are interested in furthering this conversation, hearing more about how we can live our lives in harmony with nature so that we can all be these gorgeous embodied people who live in continuity with our earth, which is, in my opinion, the best way to get beautiful skin, be sure to sign up for my weekly newsletter. It's called Moon Day Notes. If you like the perspective I share here in the podcast, I know that you're really going to love to read this. My whole goal with it is just to make it a bright light for you in your inbox on a Monday. We can start the week off together in that way. Okay, so our body is coming out of this time of darker days, longer nights, maybe being indoors more, maybe being a little bit more stagnant. And then we're entering this outward facing, higher energy, clearing, moving sunshine time. And winter was all about protecting and restoring the barrier, which is always important, but it was the main focus in the winter, along with like warming and nourishing. And spring is about upward and outward energy. It's a little bit more energizing. And so we want to focus on supporting this natural flow and circulation. And in the springtime, in my treatment room, I see people who are more concerned with puffiness, congestion, maybe their skin just feels a little bit more stuck. And interestingly, in Chinese medicine, spring is associated with the liver, which is all about movement and flow in the body. And we know that when the liver is congested, when it's overworked or not doing its job as well, that tends to show up on the skin. So when I look at the skin this time of year, I'm thinking about how to support that. How do we support movement and flow and healthy circulation? It's very important that we remember we are a microcosm in the macrocosm. We are nature. And so when we want to know what's going to support our body in the best way, we can turn to nature, and often that will give us a pretty good idea. So with that being said, what's happening around this time outside in the Northern Hemisphere? Springtime is when everything's melting. The earth is holding on to more water. It's like cute mud boot weather. And our skin tends to be holding on to more water. Our body tends to be holding on to more water, or not moving the waters of our body through as well. So the first skin support I want to talk about today is lymphatic movement. Lymph is like the hottest word in skincare right now, and I love that we're all thinking about our lymph because it's so important, and it's so cool that this has become such a big hype word, because lymphatic health is a reflection of our whole body health. I'm going to talk about self-massage and dry brushing and why those are important. But just like most of what I talk about, that's not the only thing you can do for your lymph. Healthy diet and lifestyle are absolutely foundational. So if you're not familiar, our lymph is this clear fluid that flows right below our epithelial tissue, which is our skin, both on the outside and the inside of our body. But most of this skin tissue is actually on the inside of our body. Most of our epithelial tissue is, in our gut lining. We're like a donut, which I think is really funny. And our digestive tract has the same skin tissue, and it also has lymph running just below it. So lymph health is amazing for your skin, amazing for helping you to look vibrant and glowy, but it's also just so incredibly important for the health of your entire body, for longevity. And deep breathing is step one for lymphatic system support. Your diaphragm is a pump for your lymphatic system. Daily movement, literally every single day, is step two. And this can mean doing the gym. It can mean going for a sunrise walk. It can mean dancing, yoga, swimming, whatever it is. But we need to move every day because our muscles are the other pump for the lymph. And then step three is dry brushing and self-massage. So when you brush your skin with a dry brush, you're creating this gentle stretch and release across the tissue. And that stretch actually acts like a vacuum effect. It's opening the tiny lymphatic capillaries and encouraging fluid to move from stagnant areas into circulation. And in my shop, my online apothecary, which you can find at stratumaesthetics.com, I'll link it. I sell a few options for dry brushing. The first is called Garshana gloves. These are raw silk gloves that are used in Ayurveda to dry brush, to do what is called Garshana. And I first learned about this in herb school. We did these yummy body treatments on each other where we did the Garshana, and then we went in and formulated our own castor packs depending on what our partner who was acting as our client needed. And I remember thinking when the teacher was talking about them that they would be this soft, almost like a silk pillowcase situation, but they're not. They're a raw silk, and so they have a little bit of a rougher texture to them, but they're not really like those exfoliating shower gloves either. They're much softer than that. They're also softer than a traditional dry brush. And these are my preference for someone who is a little bit more windy in nature. Maybe the nervous system is a little bit more activated on a regular basis. Maybe their nerves are a little bit more crispy. Maybe they have really dry, sensitive skin. Maybe this is for someone who has more delicate skin also, perhaps like post-menopausal, during the fall. This is my preference for myself and for most people because this is the season that's a little bit more dry and crispy. So that's Garshina gloves, and that's who Garshina gloves are going to be most indicated for. I also have this gorgeous dry brush that I just brought in. I'm in love with it. It's more, shall we say, energetic. It's a little more spicy. Not much, of course. I'm never going to be recommending you sand your microbiome off, but this one is less soft than the Garshina gloves. It's made by the facial cupping expert, and I just love her because she only uses really high quality materials, and dry brushes are something that you will hopefully have for many, many years. As someone who has been dry brushing pretty much my whole life since I was a little kid, you do want to get a nice one. It makes a huge difference. So I love this one, like a traditional dry brush for somebody who we want to get the fluid moving a little bit more blood flow. This is for someone who's having a hard time getting energized and motivated. Maybe there's more of a skin cell buildup, a little bit more stagnancy. And then finally, I have the Cecily Braden lymph brushes, both large and small. I love these because they're nice on both the face and the body. I use them on myself regularly. I use them in almost every single treatment in my treatment room. They've been on backstock for a while. My hope is that they get less on backstock soon. She's been a victim of her own success. They're just totally popping off. But I recommend not buying the knockoffs. They're all over the place. Get the real thing. It's worth the wait, I promise. I do have a YouTube video about how to use your best tools, which are your hands, and do lymphatic massage with that. So I'll make sure to link that video here in the show notes. The next thing that I love for spring, so I'm sharing like 3 main things. And number 2 is mild exfoliation. And if you're newer to my work, I have to share, I'm extremely conservative when it comes to exfoliation. And there's a good reason for that, which is that your skin isn't meant to be constantly stripped and resurfaced. It's a living barrier. And when we're overdoing exfoliation, we're essentially interrupting your skin's ability to function properly and to protect you. And with that being said, when it's done gently and intentionally, exfoliation can support the skin's natural shedding process. And so for this, I just love a very gentle enzyme. My favorite one ever that I carry in my shop is from Live Botanicals, and it's called Oasis Enzyme Mask. So it has a main exfoliating agent that's an ingredient called gluconolactone, and this is a polyhydroxy acid, which is a larger molecule than alpha hydroxy acids, things like glycolic acid or lactic acid. And so it's going to stay very surface level, but it's also water loving. And so it's going to pull water into the skin and hydrate as it very gently exfoliates. In this mask, there's also glycerin, chia, prickly pear. And I love these because they're so hydrating, which matters because when our skin is properly hydrated, those dead skin cells are naturally going to loosen and release more easily. And so we don't have to go in and have as much force with our exfoliation when the skin is properly hydrated. Also, this mask has ingredients that help brighten hyperpigmentation. So it's like doing all of these really cool things at once. And I just love to gush about this mask. I think it's the perfect springtime addition to your skincare. On that note, I also love a modality called honey tapping. Honey tapping is just like what it sounds like. You add a thin layer of honey to your skin. It can be any honey, but I love a raw local honey, or manuka honey is also really beautiful for the skin. And so you've got this thin layer and you just start doing like piano fingers on your skin, tapping away. And this does a few things. For a lack of a better term, it kind of like sucks stuff out of the skin. Honey pulls things towards itself. And this is why you can make like a garlic honey or a ginger honey, because honey is actually going to pull the medicinal agents out of those different plants toward itself. So it's doing the same thing on the skin. It's also a gentle exfoliant, both because it's helping to physically remove surface cells that were ready to slough off anyways, but also because honey has enzymatic properties. The other cool thing that's happening is that micro stretching that happens with the stickiness as you pull your fingers away from the skin. Remember when we talked about dry brushing, I talked about that like stretching action that happens. So this is going to help move lymph fluid through. And the proof is in the pudding with this, because when you do it, you're going to notice that your eyes are brighter and your skin has a healthier tone almost immediately. So finally, last thing I want to talk about, the third thing, if you're going to focus on 3 things for spring skincare, these are the top 3. Our last one is I want to talk about sun products. We're starting to experience more sun in the spring, of course, as we start moving towards summer. And I have a pretty unique take on the sun. The sun is our life force. There are healing benefits of the full spectrum of the sun. There are healing benefits of not only the infrared rays that we get, but there are benefits to ultraviolet as well. UVB is what helps us produce vitamin D, which is foundational for everything from our immune system to our mood to the health of our skin. UVA, which I remember early in my years, the only info we had was UVA or the aging rays. But UVA contributes to nitric oxide release, which supports circulation and cardiovascular health. Nitric oxide is so cool. The people who discovered it in the 90s actually won the Nobel Prize for this. Nitric oxide plays a role in melanin production, which is actually the skin trying to protect and adapt. It helps in regulating hormones through circadian signaling when the sun is shining on our skin. It helps with mood and nervous system signaling. It's so important. And I have been saying for years that the sun is not our enemy. It's almost like the environment we are in is not broken. We evolved harmoniously for a very long time without chemical sunscreen and without sunblock. And so that's true, right? We know that. And also, right now, we spend most of our time inside under artificial light, so we're not getting that gradual daily exposure that helps our skin adapt to the sun. Many people have a compromised barrier from lifestyle, and most skincare products mess up your barrier from moisturizers to exfoliants. You know, it's not marketed that moisturizers can disrupt your barrier, but a lot of creamy creams do disrupt the barrier. And that means a lot of times you're actually paying to disrupt your own barrier. And then this industry that's been demonizing the sun this whole time, when they were the ones convincing you that you needed products and treatments that further diminish your body's divine natural intelligence. So also stress and chronic inflammation, these are causing us to be more sensitive to the sun. Our skin relies on things like antioxidants and minerals and healthy fats, and a lot of people are depleted in those, which makes it harder to handle oxidative stress from sun exposure. Melatonin is one of the most important antioxidants that helps to clean up from the free radicals that we get from sun exposure. And the pineal gland produces melatonin in response to darkness. Well, guess what? Our nights are not very dark anymore, are they? And so when we are, looking at a screen, whether it be TV or phone or whatever it may be, past darkness, we are not going to have that important antioxidant that helps us to recover after sun exposure. We're also dealing with more environmental stressors, pollution, toxins. So all of this stuff that I just mentioned makes us more vulnerable to the sun. So when we talk about the sun causing damage, I think it's really important to zoom out. It's not just the sun, it's the way we live now. And changing the way we live is very important, not just going along with what society is doing, having a greater devotion to this one body that you get, and also meeting yourself where you are. And I call this intuitive sun protection, having an intuitive relationship with the sun. You can go back and listen. I have 2 episodes on circadian health and how it affects the skin to understand how to have a more harmonious relationship with the sun. But also part of meeting yourself where you are in modern culture is having sun products to prevent burning. We never want to burn in the sun. That's a very bad idea. The only sunscreen I would ever choose to put on my own body is sunblock. So this is going to be zinc oxide. Titanium dioxide is also considered sunblock. So these are minerals that are reflecting the sun's rays rather than a chemical sunscreen, which is going to absorb and scatter the sun's rays. I prefer the physical minerals myself. My favorite is Photonic from Blissoma. I carry it in my shop. In this sunblock is also an ingredient called astaxanthin, which comes from red algae, which is what gives it a little bit of a tint. Sometimes people think that it's a tinted sunscreen, but it's not. It's just there's a little bit of pinkness in there because of the astaxanthin. And this is so cool because research has shown that this ingredient reduces UV-induced wrinkle formation. It increases collagen fibers in the skin. It inhibits the formation of free radicals. It supports healthy capillaries in the skin. It increases the amount of time it takes for you to burn. It helps skin to retain more moisture during sun exposure, which is really, really important. And it improves skin texture. So I really, really love that sunblock Photonic. But I also want to really quickly mention another sun product, which I really like, and that's sun serum from Laurel. This is intentionally not called sunscreen or sunblock. And I personally don't think the conversation should just be about blocking the sun entirely, because our skin is meant to interact with it. And this product isn't just about shutting the sun out, it's about helping the skin to handle it better. And this is where plants are really incredible because they've evolved in the sun. They're constantly exposed to UV, and they've developed their own protective compounds that help neutralize oxidative stress, that help support the skin's resiliency, and essentially to help it respond to the sun instead of just always trying to avoid it. So the sun serum has ingredients like scarlet pimpernel in here, which is known for how it responds to sunlight. Sea buckthorn is a very common skincare ingredient. You will notice it has a very orange pigment. Plants use these pigments to protect themselves from the sun, and so we're harnessing it in this ingredient. We have red raspberry, which is incredibly rich in antioxidants and essential fatty acids. It's helping to buffer the oxidative stress from the sun while also reinforcing the skin's barrier, which is a natural protection. We have licorice and bilberry, which help to regulate the pigment response. And then we have marshmallow and comfrey, which help with tissue repair. So this whole product is helping the skin handle the sun and then also helping it better repair after. As we move towards summer, I think it's really helpful to start building a relationship with the sun now, a little bit at a time, so you're not going out for the first time on the 4th of July and just completely frying yourself. So gradually increasing sun exposure so that your skin has time to adapt. Okay, so to recap, the biggest things to focus on for spring skincare are lymph movement, very gentle exfoliation, and starting to think about the sun. There are many other things that we can throw in here, but if you're just choosing a few things to focus on outside of the usual things like nourishment and hydration, all the good things, these are my top 3. I hope that this has been helpful. If so, please share it with a friend who may also find it interesting and valuable. It does so much to help the show grow. Be sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletter. I will be back soon, and until then, be well. You've been listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality. If you like what you heard today, consider giving me a 5-star rating. It helps other people just like you to find the show. You can shop products and find all of my offerings on my website, stratumaesthetics.com, and follow me on my social channels @stratumaesthetics.